2. Presto. Mundo. In any case, and in any ways, sponge brushes. Sponge brushes. Sponge brushes. I don't know what to say about them. They make me feel good. They even out the drips, maybe, in this painting. And here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I gotta get some water. Pour some water. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint the sky. All right, that's what we're going to do.
Okay, well, everything looks okay.
What's that?
All my recent artwork looks fine. It was just that one piece that was bent, that corner piece.
I almost can hear you. I can almost make out what you're saying.
But you did get it, right?
Did get what?
Oh, I'm just saying, my art's fine. It's just that corner piece.
Oh, well, yeah, sometimes you got to, what do you call it? Sacrifice to the facts of life. Yeah, that part of the reason I was not upset, but I responded to that kid's post that he dogged me in the park with the long hair was because he was also supposed to come out with his girlfriend and buy the painting, right? Buy my painting called The Epicurean off of me. And that Epicurean has a busted corner on it. And anyway, so I'm ending up, I told him I'd sell it to him. I know his mom for a while. I've known him for a while. And his girlfriend likes it and everything. And I said, okay, well, how about somewhere around 140 for the painting? And he said, yeah. And then he said he'd come out to the park with her and get it this last weekend, and he didn't show up. Not that that mattered to my bank account, but it mattered, meaning I did fine. But I noted that to him while he's busy saying, don't rep Satanists, or you're supporting the big Satanists. Like, maybe.
He said you're supporting Satanists?
Yeah. But he didn't say I was. He said, if you're repping with things that are...
does he even have a proper understanding of what Satanism is?
Well, I mean, he agreed with someone's comment. He just saying that, Satanism is, an Anton LaVey movement, I mean, in terms of its current form, and that it's really a cynicism type of pun, and that it for religion, and that it's like an expose on atheism and it's like skeptical thinking or something like that. And meaning, I don't know if that's what you were going to say Satanism is, because I might say that the idea of numerology itself, is a type kind of reading of a psychic nodes. By psychic node, I mean like the implied notion that if you saw 666, that it necessitates your relationship somehow with the concept of beast, somehow. And that beastliness might have something to do with Satan. But I'm not certain that the beast and Satan have much to do with each other? And if so, if somebody then wears an item or has an item that says 666 on it, you're not supposed to support that person. You're not supposed to get involved with them, and by doing that and helping them, or anyone that's repping for them, that they're supporting Satanists up above that actually do commit the horrendous crimes that they do.
Yeah.
And so by him not coming out, it was like a betrayal of his word, which I kind of thought was like a crime. Meaning that's why I pointed to his irony and the idea of well, I didn't say hypocrite, but I described it as a hypocritical behavior on his part. And then I made the hair comment, like, hey, well, Manson had long hair. You have long hair. Therefore, you're supporting Manson. Well, it's like, just get over it. You're doing it, and you're guilty of it, and people shouldn't buy from you. You're supporting Satanism. But then you get into an argument about whether or not Manson was a Satanist, and I think that one could shore up an argument. And I hate the term snarky, and I hate the term shore up. But I hate the term, but I like to use it. So I'm not painting the wood after all. I'm painting the sky. And I'm using this half Boston, half Tom Waits smoker accent to hold my breath in such a manner that it's easier for me to move the brush in the way in which I'd like to. And that way of talking is like this. So I'm going to talk like this, you see, you hear, you compondre, you comprendo. Anyway, so do you notice when you draw there, Asa, that not only do you think differently, but maybe you breathe differently in this heightened, not ecstatic state. You didn't use that word, you use some other word.
Not only do I breathe differently, I make absurd noises, and sometimes I make all sorts of different kinds of noises I wouldn't make or dare to make in public.
Well, when I was telling you that woman had that her words were my inner monologue, that woman was making a lot of like clicks and grunts and hums and all these other just quirky sounds, kind of, and then talking a little bit, and it was just very comforting. It was like a very comforting inner monologue, like trying to imagine what it'd be like to be her was almost like just getting like caught up in who would say those things the way they're said that way. You know what I mean? And not in a judgmental way, in a discovery way. You know, and I don't know. Apparently I had favorited her, but I don't know her handle right off the bat, and if I did favor her before, I don't recall her in this particular limelight or way that I rediscovered her, you know, like another aspect of her persona that I guess was too different than what it is I recognized her on her recently, I guess, when I subscribed to her channel. Anyway, maybe a dumb topic, but anyway, like you said, when you make sounds and you bounce around, and that maybe that's why
I'm more jumpy. I'm more calm, and I make absurd noises sometimes, not all the time. but it's more of like a state, height state, and I'm more in tune with the I don't know, it's just hard to explain. I just more of a, maybe it's just extreme emotions that I'm feeling at in the moment.
Mm. Do you want to sing a song to us about that? You got something rolling off the tip of your tongue there? A little poem?
No, I don't. I just, I do admit that I look pretty ridiculous when I do draw. Some of the things that I do when I do draw, I look, it's rather embarrassing, but it's a state of ecstasy that I'm feeling.
Mm.
And freedom.
Mm. See, and that's why I think I'm smoking a lot of cigarettes in this regard. It's like somehow when I started this painting, or maybe it's everything that's happening in the world, but there was this kind of internalization of my stress that has me, when I ponder like the domains or the darker domains of what it is that I'm representing, I could understand something like, well, not to cycle back to Satanism, but something like that, or something like this containment from the inside out of my behavior. And maybe it's because I know I have to record this. And maybe if I had my time-lapse software that I should have paid for and just fucking threw the money at, you know, I'm like, maybe, you know, I don't know. I think I have this fear of missing out. There's too many other investments. And to keep trying to pay a company that seemingly takes the permanent charge to permanently access their software, and then when you're done with that, a couple months later, they tell you that your trial period ran out, and they want you to buy the software again. So no, and that's the reason why I'm reluctant to rebuy their software. I almost feel like they're somehow scamming people. It just seemed like an illegitimate business, whatever legitimate is. It seemed illegitimate. Anyway, under current standards of business, it seems illegitimate. All right.
So I'm just, I bought the 3 rolls, and I'm laying down the background of a night sky. That I got these rolls, one's of a, blue, clear sky, and the other is brown, gray. Yeah, blue cloud, blue sky with some fluffy white clouds, and I'm laying down this background of the night sky, all these stars. So it's rolled up, so it's perfect cut blue. And it's really thin.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
It's bulletin board paper, but I'm using it as a background.
Bulletin board paper.
That's what it was marketed as, like bulletin board paper.
Well, why would you use that? Why are you using such shit materials for your precious artworks?
It's acid free, so it's not going to deteriorate, and I just like the aesthetic. I like the way it looks, but it's just rolled up tightly, and it's thin paper, but it will work.
Yeah, the medium is shitty.
It's not shitty if you work with shitty materials and still create something if you're creative about it.
Well, that's like Cole, like doing crepe paper things, and then when he stores it or it's moved around at all, then it falls apart. It's like when it gets home to the owner's house and it's placed out, it's just going to fall apart. It's shoddy building material. You shouldn't be using that as your ground, I don't think. I think you should use something else.
It's posted, it's pasted onto like a nice foam board. The foam board's nice and acid-free. I'm just using it as the backdrop, and if it's glued down properly, it should be all right.
The foam board's also acid-free, and it's acid-free. And that's the
yeah,
ground.
the foam board's acid free. The paper is everything that I'm working with is acid free.
Well, what do you think about the idea of stretching a canvas and collaging on it like other artists have done with their imagery? Using your same imagery, just using canvas as a backdrop instead of foam board.
What do you think would, well, I could roll the canvas up.
You could roll it up. Yeah, when you're done, you could roll it up. It's differently portable, easy to ship.
I've never thought about it. Like some of the foam board, like it bends, and some like I buy it straight, it's flat when I buy it, and sometimes it curves and bends over time. Not all the time. Another time, I have to make sure that I don't purchase it in that condition already. I make sure it's flat. I just don't like it when it curves, and when I glue stuff onto the board, and I glue a lot, it tends to bend and curve more, but not all the time. Most of the pieces that I work with have been all right. Just one or two, and I think those two they already have that extreme curve to it. And I just wasn't, and it was my first time experimenting with that medium. But I think I'm getting the hang with it.
Yeah, it's weird for me to dart back and forth to acrylics from oil. Going from acrylic to oil seems easier somehow. Like, I just, the oscillation of using the same medium in terms of patterning is different than trying to learn a new technique or a new medium. So, but I don't know what.
I'm just curious, like, how far would I advance, and if somebody took me under their wing and showed me their techniques in oil or acrylics, how, like, specific artists that I'm really interested in, if they took me under their wing, how far would I pick up the skill?
Well, why not just, like, what you do is you just watch what they're doing, and then in your mind you generalize it as a categorical step, and then you try to take notes on what they're doing, and then you read those notes to yourself as you're doing their technique, or what you believe is akin to their technique. Or,
well, this particular artist, like, if I was to pick someone, like the artist I was telling you about earlier, who was spending 2.5 years on this particular painting, and I linked you a piece of one of his absurd paintings of this, like, little girl shitting herself, and then you have, like, a dog in a wheelchair behind the couch, and, like, all this squalor filth. But, like, I'm just thinking of the colors that he uses, the kind of, like, I'm just thinking
squalor filth,
things that I wouldn't be able to pick up so readily on my own, as opposed to working with somebody in person. Like, just the colors, color theory, perspective. Like, I think I'd be able to pick it up quicker.
Well, yeah, probably. But, video is apparently the next best thing. But then if you had somebody watching what you're doing and talking you through your process, trying to learn their technique, that helps, also. And plus you get all sorts of different anecdotes from them. Like this one, his name was Chris Terry at Utah State University, and he's one of their art professors. And he said stuff like, it's not what you know, it's what you do. People know all sorts of things. Everybody knows lots of things. And lots of things. It doesn't matter what you know, it's what you do. And he's like, if you guys think, and then he says something else, like, if you guys think that you're going to produce like a fine piece of artwork, I'll just tell you that the finest crafted artwork that the United States produces are automobiles. If you want the finely most crafted piece of artwork, just buy a brand new vehicle straight off of the press, right? And he'd make arguments like that, right? So that you would get more into a flowing movement with your brush instead of like this picture, which is a contained brush stroke. More paint by numbers, kind of. But it was more, I think, to expand the featherly effect of the person hearing it, like to free them up in a way. I don't know whether or not that I'm making a good association there or not. But the idea is that you don't need to chase perfection, right? Like don't chase perfection. And then you're coming into art like you're not trying to do representational work, but how did the portrait of your granddad go?
I'm still working on it. I plan on giving it to him this weekend.
Well, how'd the birthday go then?
I said, yeah, it went good. My mom came over, spent some time with them. My grandpa was with my aunt, and she spent a few hours with them. And then they went home because he's tired. He's 88. He turned 88.
Yeah. Well, it's cool kind of that you're delaying it like casually because it's kind of like, hey, you're not going to die, in a week. So, happy birthday, and I'll get this painting done for you.
Well, I didn't want to rush it, I suppose.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know how much time you were going to spend on it, or if you liked what you had produced by the next day or not.
Like I showed the preliminary sketch to my father, and he said, that looks like it. That's good. That's the direction you need to be heading in. He didn't say that, but he said, like, he's more receptive to, like, just nothing. Sketches was just like, it was just nothing.
You mean his advice was just nothing?
It was just a preliminary sketch of my grandfather. Like, it wasn't rendered or anything. And he said, that looks like it.
Huh.
Like, he was just more receptive to that shitty sketch than any of the art I've ever cranked out thus far.
And so how'd you handle that?
I just, it's just another person. I'm not taking it personally. I do take it personally when I'm in an irrational mind frame, especially when I'm overly in an emotional mind frame.
Yeah.
But it's just it's just, and he's not into aesthetics. My grandmother was an artist. She drew portraits of everyone. A cartoonist. But it just never interested my dad. Really.
Did he hate that? Did he hate his mom? Did he resent that his mom did that?
He's loved everything my mother's done. But but my grandmother was also a kind of like a Bob Ross type of painter. But she also did weird caricatures of drawings, weird drawings.
Would the word kitsch describe her work though? Meaning was
word which?
Kitsch, like crafty end depiction.
I like her drawing. I really like her drawings. I bought her a notebook and I said, here, Grandma, fill this notebook up for me with your weird drawing. But her painting, she works with pastel. So, it's just, I don't, It's just like generic, like the Christian, like the super genius child at 13 creating all this marvelous art. It's kind of like that, which isn't exactly marvelous, but she's known as a prodigy.
Well, that's good. Meaning then I presume, that she's was okay with it. I'm not certain why my hypothesis that your dad might despise her or resent her doing art might have some application to the way he's approaching your doing art.
I've never seen him criticize her with the art. Yeah. I've never seen him scold her or give her the evil stink eye because why are these drawings so weird? Why do they look like that? Show me where the dick is. Where's the dick nose? Why does this have horns? He's never done that to his mother. He's never gotten Freudian with his mother. The dick is somewhere in this drawing. You must show me where it is.
Right. And then, as they say, anything that's longer than it is wide is phallic, according to Freud. Right? And he's bound to find something in it. In any case, I'm painting veins now. Well, I'm glad you like what I'm doing, if that's what you were saying, that you liked what I was doing. But if you didn't say that, and you were talking about what your grandma did that you liked also, which you did compliment, that's fine as well. But something about her drawings or his drawings, you refer to someone's drawings. And I'm like, whose drawings are you talking about? Meaning your grandma painted, but you're referring to drawings. Are you referring to your grandma's drawings?
She did pastel, and she worked with pastel and just doing portraitures. She used to draw people's portrait on the pier.
Yeah. And I'm sure she would give it to him too, and not just say thanks for your time and then close her sketchbook and walk off. Meaning that she was a character artist, but not to sell. So she was selling her work on that. She was street hustling.
I'm not too sure what she did, but she used to do portraitures of people on the pier, like in the 40s.
And which pier did she do it at?
In the 40s.
Yeah, but which pier?
Which pier?
Yeah. Santa Monica.
No, not Santa Monica.
Oh. Well, which pier?
I'm not too sure about it.
Oh, well, I'll just assume then it's Santa Monica or Huntington Beach piers, or I'm sure it's not Huntington Beach. I don't even know why I bring up Huntington Beach. And then I lived there for a little while. It had some weird vibe way back in the 90s. Yeah. Huh. Damn. Well, I don't feel like I'm doing even a good job laying down this sky blue. Like I'm kicking my ass.
What are you doing right now?
I'm painting blue again in the sky over the first layer that I laid down already. And yes.
How did you pick up painting quickly? Like you seem to be good with color theory and perspective. You pick up on that quickly?
I don't know, not super quickly, but I mean, I picked up on it, you know. I mean, there's some basic rules of thumb that were spoken to you. That's what you get when you pay for an education in painting. But somebody said, "Oh, have you been drawing your whole life or something? Or is that why you got into it?" I was like, "Well, is that, when I was in the first grade, I got a blue ribbon for a drawing I did of a baby in front of a sun." And they said, "Oh," I said, "Yeah." And then, I mean, there's more reason. My junior high teacher kind of redid one of my sculptures I was doing of my dad, a head bust, and he took it and he totally did fix it, but it turned out to be his sculpture of my dad instead of my sculpture of my dad in junior high. But he gave me like good marks on it, and I kept it around because it was interesting, and I guess it did have part of my work still in it, even though he had gotten to it. And then, but he gave me good marks. And then in high school, my high school teacher really encouraged me to go to where he went to art school, which was Utah State. And the school bought one of my pieces when I was a junior, but when I was a senior, they didn't buy one of my pieces that I thought was better. And then I was like, not confused, but going through that first idea of like, okay, it's going to be hard, and just because you get something one year doesn't mean you get the next year, and you don't know how sales are going to be or how you're supposed to work with galleries or how you're supposed to do anything, but just do good, take a whack at it. And so that's I think that kind of phrase, take a whack at it, kind of is like changing styles. Like I change styles like an axe would leave a chunk of wood after you, like when you're chopping down a tree. Like,
well, what about style? What about switching up medium? You ever tried pastel?
Yeah, I've tried pastels.
Yeah, it's really messy. That's what I started off with. My grandma actually influenced that choice of medium, but it's just so messy and just so many dust particles, and then like color pencils, pastels I experimented with. Oils, I just get really frustrated with oils. The acrylic, the brushes frustrate me, and I just I can't seem to get the paint on the canvas, and I'm just basically really retarded.
No. If you're gonna stick with doing, you want to do on the board, and you like the idea that it's firm, but it's light. That's why you like to do the board that you paint on. But you might want to consider endurance of the piece also. Meaning, otherwise you might have to frame every piece and put it in box glass, and because if someone leans against your piece too hard or something falls on it, it's just going to dent that foam and push a hole through stuff. But that's if I know you're expecting, because your artwork is so dainty.
There's some really good collage artists that are really cranking out some really spectacular things, but it's almost collage art that looks like oil painting. It's not just stuff that you cut out from magazines or things like that. It is, but it's crafted in a way where it looks like an original. It just looks like a absurd, surreal,
like a painting,
oil painting.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some woman that was running she came to the Utah Arts Festival, and I hung out with her in the evening for quite a while, because she had collages that were made to look like landscapes, and they were all just made out of collage that she put together, And when you stood back, you couldn't really tell that it wasn't a painting. When I first saw it and I considered it as a painting, I thought the brushstrokes seemed so peculiar, because it was like it would have been someone that was painting from all different directions using like a single-sized brush, but it was different. It was like laid down. It was more, I don't know, it seemed more mechanical, I guess. You know, meaning not mechanical. Like the end result seemed mechanical. The style of the way it was laid down seemed peculiar. And so that encouraged me, of course, to get closer and find out more about her work. And she had a pamphlet out so you could read it and see it. And it was really impressive in terms of someone doing collage and having the end result look like a representational, landscape or different scapes.
I'm just curious to see how they actually lay it down. How does Phoenix lay it down? His collages seem like it's like he doesn't seem to have any technical problems with the glue.
Well, he got resin. I was telling you, maybe by resin. It's sort of like a varnish. You can go get like wood varnish or something and lay that over stuff also. But yeah, I mean he's developed his technique for a long time, but I kind of have a basic grasp of what he's doing. But I think for the most part, it's glue and resins and varnishes and just kind of an experimental combination that adheres the stuff to the canvas. And of course, he rolls them both inward and outward. It used to only be outward to flex all the glue on it. You know, like when it's done, you re-wet the whole thing and then you roll it so that it's stretched on the outside of a roll. And then you undo it then, and then you let it dry, something like that.
I mean, he put something over the finished piece?
Yeah.
Does he put varnish over the finished piece?
Yeah. Well, not over it so much as it's part of the process just to keep it well contained in and on the canvas. You know, I mean, he's doing several things, but at the same time, it's just studying this particular type of medium, canvas, with paint on it and what adheres to it, and what the best way it can adhere. And then you're also considering things like glues that when they dry and you stretch them, they turn white, versus the glues where you dry and you stretch them and they remain transparent. Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, you could try that, but I mean, and the reason I brought that up was when I found out you were doing collage-esque stuff, and I thought that was a peculiar additive. I actually thought it was an unnecessary additive on your part. I thought that you had just huge, like, red paints or something to lay down backgrounds, or huge amounts of ink you were laying down black.
Yeah, so you were thinking of really bright, crisp red for paint.
Well,
it's just paper.
Well, but do you buy colored foam board, or is it always white? Why not buy like the black one and the red foam board? Or is that what you were doing?
No, because they don't have the thick foam board in different colors. It's white.
I see. Okay.
It's the kind of foam board that they hold in the back of the framing shop at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and I have to request it, and I have to have them cut it for me.
I see. So it's like the foam that they stick in the back of a picture?
It's like the foam board that they have is a big
8 by
40
4
by
feet.
60. Like it's this one piece, and then I request them to cut it for me.
Yeah. And do you snap a cane on the counter when you request it?
Do I slap a what?
A cane? Like, do you do a tie up? Like, do you tie a bow on your collar, and then you go in and you request it, and then you smack a cane on the counter when you're done with your request?
What does that mean? Like a cane?
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah, well, I mean, but your style, your dress up style, is kind of probably could use a cane.
Oh
Meaning
yeah.
for all the you could use it for protection, you can use it for dancing, you can just use it to point at when you're taking strolls in central Swiss parks, when stuff and stuff.
Yeah, like a cane that can also double like a sword.
Yeah.
But it's a federal offense to carry swords, don't you know?
Is it? I don't know if it is.
In public.
Well, people pack swords around that are legitimate swords. To carry a sword, I think you can use freedom of expression laws to carry swords. I mean, I almost think that as an artist, any guy or any woman that's registered as a professional artist should be able to become fully nude in public and use any performance or paint that they would like in order to make their nudity a non like part of your medium. Your nudity is your medium, and hence you can utilize it for free speech. But then again, I think that's everyone's right, not just artists' rights. In other words, I think everyone should just be able to go nude and use kind of a cosplay or anything as a means to say they were producing a form of art, and that nudity then
you also gotta know your laws too, and whatever city or state you're in, because sometimes the cops don't even know like specific codes, or because I was talking to somebody about, can you carry a sword in public? And there was this story that he came across where the cops actually, they didn't know, but they harassed this guy who was carrying a sword.
Yeah.
Even if you got to be really careful in those kind of situations. Cops don't even know their own laws.
But that's just a cautionary tale. You really got to be careful when you're carrying this sword.
Well, I just don't want to be bothered by the cops. Especially if they don't know their laws.
Right. I'm just wondering if cosplay uniforms allow a freedom of expression trumping of whatever those state laws might be to carry a sword. But then again, it'd be a hard stretch to say, well, my character needed to carry this loaded revolver brandished and swinging around my head dancing because, freedom of expression.
Well, I mean, he's also like there's a case where this guy was shooting a BB gun out from a hotel window. Somebody called the police on him, and they called the SWAT on him. And the video footage of the officer who shot him, like the guy was power tripping immensely. They had him get down on all fours and humiliate the guy, and have him on his knees and have his hands up, and then crawl towards the SWAT officers on his knees, and the guy fell forward and he shot him, killed him. And after putting him through like 5 minutes of like humiliating, degrading him, shouting at him, and like he was obeying all the orders, and they still shot him.
Wow, that video must be intense. I mean, unless it was just an anecdote. There's no video.
It was it was real footage of somebody like being killed There's a YouTube channel called Horror Stories, where there's a lot of like actual footage of people dying and like stories of people dying.
Stories of people
dying. Like the guy had a BB gun. It wasn't even a real gun, and they killed him.
Yeah, no, that's really sad actually, because it's absurd in a way that a BB gun is considered like a regular firearm. You know, I mean it is, but I mean it's just so stupid. Like, I bet that wasn't like a Montana or a Wyoming cop, you know, or an Idaho cop or some like Oklahoma cop, you know, because their kids would have horses and they would have BB guns. I mean, I don't know. I say that only because I had a BB gun and I was in the suburbs, you know, like kids that live out in the wilderness. You know, they see people shooting rifles probably quite often. More so, and maybe even in California, there's a whole swath, you know, lots of gun clubs and stuff. But anyway, it is still, you know, it's just absurd because you teach kids how to use guns by giving them access to the least damaging ones first. That's why you start out with a dart gun or a squirt gun, and then a dart gun, and then a BB gun, and then a pellet gun, and then a 22, and then you can move up from there. You know. Anyway, that's a pity to hear that happen. So did they go string the cop up by his judicial nuts?
Well, the guy that was verbally degrading him wasn't the guy who shot him. It was his partner, but the guy he was just ordering the kid to get in all these different postures, like lay down on all fours, then get up, kneel, put your hands up, and then crawl towards me without like just using your knees, crawl towards me using your knees. And the guy was drunk too. But he leaned forward and he put his hands on the ground. And when he dropped his hands on the ground, the other guy shot him. He was just like commanding him to be, and like, I don't know, it was unnecessary. Well, like, you don't need to command him to do all these things.
Well, there is bad training, but there is also, you know, I mean, they train to command or control the situation and ask the questions and say exactly what you want people to do. And, you know, like, but as far as what you saw in terms of, you know, maybe that's protocol. Anytime someone's got a gun, you make them throw the gun, you make them get down, you make them lay down, and then the whole crawl towards you might be so that they aren't, you know, while you're approaching them, they're not going to grab for something. So maybe they're looking for something while the person's crawling, or just getting them so it would be harder to run off if they're on their knees, something like that. But I don't know, you know, who knows what the context actually, you know, was or perceived to be by the guy that got shot and the cops and everybody. It just sounds like a pity, though. It sounds like somebody who definitely wasn't trained well, or well enough, or like it was an assassination. You know, almost gets. I mean, I'm talking about something that's sight unseen by me. That, you know, it's almost just a good story. Also, something I don't need to actually see. I'll just, you know, in good faith, I'll take your word for it that you generally described it the way I might perceive it. You know, so yep. I won't ask you to send me the link. Man, I feel bad because I don't feel like emotionally available. I guess I feel less than emotionally available for a lot of things, and I think I'm mirroring physiological pain with some other aspect of my personality that gets me edgy, grumpy, and disagreeable. Not, I don't just want to go along. Like somehow it just seems like everyone's required to go along go with the flow.
You just want the pain influences the manner of how cantankerous you will be towards the person.
Well, I heard a lot of that without hearing all of that, but whatever you said, sure.
Okay. The pain influences how much. The pain influences how cantankerous you would be towards the other person.
Yeah, almost like I'm allowing the pain to transfer, and then I express it outward instead of retreating it. I'm like requiring that the other individual understand that they're talking to somebody that's very bodily discomforted, and that I might kind of like not what do you call it? Not narcissism, but I should know. But basically, the case like Tourette's, where people have uncontrollable swearing. Instead of uncontrollable swearing, it's more like I'm going to paint my world as painfully, and you're included in it, as I feel right now. Right? And so there's kind of a like disregard for the fact that the other person is living in a non-pained, maybe slightly stressed or whatever body they're living in. And, I mean, then, and yeah,
or emotionally, an emotional turmoil.
Yeah, but, and the whole idea is to make certain that if I'm going to do that, instead of just, act nice, that's what I'm going to do.
The pain isn't the motive. You were cantankerous prior to the job.
Not really cantankerous. I was more lighthearted than cantankerous. And even now, I'm still lighthearted. I'm not lighthearted. But, the other day when I was really cantankerous, and the other day when you're really emotionally introverted and nervous and sensitive, differently sensitive. People are differently sensitive than other people. And I guess that's kind of the point, right? That's kind of what I mean by I'm approaching something in my language that it does have a correspondence to the pain that I'm feeling, and it's at the disregard of the frame of morality that the other person might be talking from. In that if I'm in more pain, I might not only say, God damn it, I might say, God damn it, you, right? And do an immediate scapegoating. That's just an example. I wouldn't do something so cheap like that in real conversation, but it's that kind of idea. Like you're so frustrated with your day, you come home and kick the dog, slam the door and kick the dog.
Or you hang the cat from a tree.
Or you take tap from a tree.
No, or you hang the cat from a tree.
Oh, well, that would even be a very stressful day there. Anyway, and so my point is that I decided that freedom of speech allowed for me to speak cantankerously and then allow that shape of cantankerous form to edify and educate me on subject matter I might paint. And I figured since a lot of people don't hold the posture, a lot of people aren't going to be able to paint the topics that I'm painting. But then again, that brings me back to smoking cigarettes again. It's like a type of psychological embracement, a type of poor behavior scapegoated on art so that I can basically be pissy and edgy and uncomfortable and irritated by other people at times. But God, I'm just done with these people. It's It's like I was complaining earlier before we started recording about all of the moving data sets, the visual data sets. It's like it's becoming an overkill. I'm emotional about that, right? And it's merely a concept description, but it seems like I'm describing my irritation from my phenomenological point of view, my subjective thing, and you seem to concur, and I think most people would because, you sense it also. You're agreeing that our environment is similar. You live in the digital age and that you watch social media at the rate of an average world citizen that has a smartphone. You're within the average margin. I would assume that you and I probably watch more internet-based videos than any generation before the internet was invented. Ba-dum-bum. There. Oh man, so I had Ron and Vane Veen commenting, logical empiricist. If you're listening, you motherfucker. I deleted your comment because it said, I prefer the original or the traditional school of Athens opposed to this postmodern version. And I thought to myself, like, he didn't even know what the school of Athens, he had to Google what the school of Athens painting even is before he could make that comment. This guy named Logical Empiricist. And so I did the unthinkable, something that's against my character. I deleted his comment.
You disabled the comment like you did on your presidential speech thing?
Did I disable the comments on my presidential speech?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just hit the go button on Facebook, and I heard bongs like bong bong, and I thought, oh, someone's trying to write a comment, but I don't know where they're writing it. Meaning, I'm not seeing it on my end. Like the Facebook interface was only one page, and no comments were showing up. And quite frankly, that was I think my second live.
You disabled the comments on why I'm running for president of the United States.
Oh, the link one, the 3-minute one?
The 30-minute one.
Oh, no. No, I didn't, did I? If I did, I'll change that. I'll go in and change that. I didn't know that's so. I thought you didn't get on Facebook enough to know that I disabled the comments. But maybe that was a good move regardless. But no, I totally wanted people's feedback. I was like, no, somebody comment. You're wrong, because someone did comment on it. They said,
no, you're wrong. I'm looking at it right now.
Dave Diamante wrote, good 70s mustache. Said, I like your 70s mustache. He commented on it. So don't give me this that my things were disabled.
I don't know. I mean, on mine it says comments are turned off.
Well, but you see his comment, don't you?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't see it.
Oh, well, I think you're looking at the wrong video then. Well, like I said, what are you biting at the bit to make a comment on there? Is that it? You want to know? As part of your company, as part of one of the members of your presidential committee company, I, Asa, would like to say that this video used to say you can't make comments on it. And that says something about a man like Mike running for president.
I'm still your treasurer.
Yeah, you're something. You might be the accountant. You might be the janitor. Janitorial position. Okay, well, it's still coming along a little bit. You're not the one watching the stream, are you?
Well, I checked it for a second. I'm not on it anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I hadn't turned around until just now, and I noticed there was only one person. But okay, well, I made that much progress, which, yeah, I really got to keep this editable because this particular painting, I have to paint the acrylic on so thinly in case I need to paint oil on top of it. I want the acrylic to not be so glossy on the outside. I want it to be affected by the texture of the canvas from under it, such that oil paint would still have like some sort of grit to adhere to. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I'm gonna fucking paint this thing up. You just gave me the idea, like maybe I should talk about my technique a little bit to the camera, in case somebody's like, "Oh, I want to study him studying Todd Skewer's painting again." Yeah, because that's whose technique. He's an amazing illustrator. He's been around for years. His name's Todd Skewer. That's Schoor. And this is my attempt at mimicking, to some extent, his technique. Check the technique. See if you can follow it. Well, it's interesting to me that you and Synthetic Goat have similar styles and that you met each other there, and you probably didn't even find her or know her before you started doing what you were doing. You started doing what you were doing first.
Well, the thing is, what is also strange about my chance encounter with Synthetic Ghost is that love spell I made for Go-Go of the ghost and the mermaid. Synthetic Ghost she appeared right when I posted that. It was supposed to be kind of and the caption was longing for the other shore, and the mermaid was supposed to resemble Go-Go. But Synthetic Ghost popped up when I posted it. And now that I'm thinking about longing for the other shore, it's quite literally longing for the other shore.
Right. Which is why you got to get that there license to fly out of the country. There's thingy-majingy. Did you take any steps today to get a one of those there licenses? Don't answer. I know the answer's no. Don't answer. It's rhetorical. Now go ahead. What do you want to say?
I want to look into it.
Yeah. There we go. Ready? Wow. There we go. Weird, very weird, Captain.
So, have you had anyone harass you in the park or in public in general about wearing proper mask protocols?
No, if anything, I mentioned to people like, oh, well, I can see you're COVID cautious, so let me, put on my mask, or if you look at my work, I'll let you use my hand sanitizer, right? And generally, there's just interplay, even though, it's hot out, so I'm always sipping on something, so I just have the mask. If I have it on, it's around my ears, under my chin. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? I think you know what I mean, man.
Technically, you can, be without a mask if you're 6 feet apart. not a park, not a park, but a park.
That's what the RNC presidential gathering apparently suggested, because somebody said, God, he had those people there. They didn't even have masks on. And it didn't look like they were properly socially distancing. And all of this is a future case against Trump for mishandling the pandemic, is what it's going to go down in history as. That's what I believe, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead. You can say what you're going to say, too. But I think Trump is going to go down in history books, if there are such books, or whatever, writings, lots of writings, that he mishandled the pandemic. And whether or not you agree that he closed stuff down in a timely manner based on his skepticism and knowledge, or whether you thought his skepticism was healthy or not.
It's not just Trump, it's the CDC and the World Health Organization.
Like the health organization?
They're changing up their narrative all the time.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, so this is just fishy. And as a matter of fact, I think it's really awful, because I think what they're doing to science in front of people with this disease, and the way they strip doctors from their rights to get certain prescriptions and keep their mouth shut, indicates that the actual thinking method around it is flawed. I mean, it's obviously flawed, but that it's okay that it's flawed, and that it's okay that the details aren't recorded on based on really solid comparison, like the fact that they don't index pneumonia deaths, flu deaths, and COVID deaths. And now, months later, this month, August, somebody posted out, well, they not only were inflating all these numbers, while the left or the other group or whatever the media was saying, there's more cases out there now. And other people are like, no, there's fewer cases. I mean, it's just badly indexed science, is my point. What were you saying?
The English gentleman who's been following all the unfoldment of the COVID pandemic.
70-year-old doctor guy, yes. Yeah, what about him? What about him?
First documented case of reinfection.
Oh, that they just posted that?
Just some rare case, and until there's thousands of people who are reinfected, it's not going to be.
Well, and
there's not much talk or concern about it, but just the idea that first children weren't as acceptable as getting the virus or passing the virus, but now that's changed. Now, and then also reinfection has changed, or just the idea of just one person.
Who's making the claim that there's reinfection?
I saw a video, the guy saying that there was this guy in, I don't know, he was one of the first documented cases of catching the virus.
Okay. Well, and that to me is meaning, and what I was telling your advisor the other day was that we can expect a second wave that actually does come in and actually kills more people, because now that everyone's trained this far, once a more deadly version comes in, then greater social controls can be implemented. And so the idea of reinfection also allows as a precursor to is it worse to get reinfected, or is it worse to just catch the second version of it? It's like, do you want to be infected, right? And so there might be even this notion of it's in your benefit to be infected after the first wave of people are considered to have died or whatever. But the whole thing just seems like a big joke. And they said 175,000 people have died in the U.S. or something. And yet I just think out of all 50 states, those stats just somehow seem off to what is on social media. Like I don't see anybody trending that's saying, "Oh yeah, my friend died of COVID," and like I heard one person say that, and it was sad. But I'm not seeing like huge trending videos of people talking about their loved one dying of COVID. It's just more of a number claim that is not well disambiguated. So it's bad science, and the next generation is seeing bad science as mass data being moved around the internet in front of them, and it's just, quite frankly, I think it's fucking disgusting what's going on. But what can you do? You know,
we can have AI track, control information. So anything that is uploaded onto the internet, anything that is immediately uploaded as true, AI could, have all control through all domains.
Have all control.
Because they have our best interest in mind.
Right. And then it was cool because one lady's at the airport refusing to put on a mask. Two black ladies trying to get on a plane to another state that refused to put on a mask. And they were basically said, "You're not going to force me to do this. You're not going to force me to put on a mask." And then they started yelling because the police showed up, or the security, and the cop said, "You're in an airport. You know you're in an airport, and you're yelling, right?" And she said, "Well, if you're going to fucking arrest me, then arrest me, right?" Like, she said, "I'm not doing anything wrong, and I'm certainly the fuck not putting a mask on, and it's my freedom of speech to say it as loudly as I fucking want." Right? But maybe she didn't use the word fucking, but with that intensity in her content. And because it was as if they had just barely come to the pandemic and barely heard about wearing masks. And they just thought, this is fucking absurd that we have to wear masks at an airport to get on a plane. They kept saying, we're not Chinese. This is not China.
Well, I believe you have to not only wear masks, but you have to wear masks during the whole duration of the flight.
Well, except for when you're drinking something, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know, or when you're taking it off to cough on your neighbor. Exaggeratedly. I think when you travel overseas, you should bring COVID with you.
Well, I saw a news article. This guy was going around Walmart giving free hugs to people and then saying that I've infected you with COVID, and now there's a manhunt nationwide or statewide manhunt to find this guy.
Oh my god! And see, and that's harsh on people. Even if the guy's totally joking, like some lady I saw on Facebook posted a stock tip and said, "Hey everyone, I'm probably going to federal jail, but here's my stock tip. I think everyone should buy this." And I just thought it was funny the way that it was said because it sounds similar. Yeah.
Well, kind of like what you were saying about that woman who threw paint on the Congress desk, right?
Yeah, she bought the paint that got thrown all over and around the prosecution's building, and where they broke a bunch of windows and everything, so they're trying her for life in prison. And even the mayor stepped in and said, "Hey, this punishment doesn't fit remotely the crime, and I'm totally against it." You know, almost with the notion like that they would commute any sentence or something, or attempt to have commuted a sentence like that. But it is almost like what states have to do, and Utah's gnarly with its legal structure. Like, okay, we're going to just put an end to this rioting thing. If you're part of it and you wear certain things, or we can make any association that you belong to Antifa or the left or some other gang, any gang, then we'll apply Utah's gang laws against you and we'll go after you for life. And it's just an abuse of what a gang is and what a category about what a gang is, and like associating her necessarily with a gang of people. It is kind of an oddity. Man, see, I should do more browns. I'm looking at the camera a little bit. Well, and thanks for being complimented of me being on here, being as I got on your ass. Like, yeah, man, you haven't said anything about my drawing yet. So I get bent out of shape. Like, oh, it's always about your art.
Are you talking to me?
Yep.
Did I not compliment your art?
No, you did compliment it. I was just thanking you for complimenting on it.
Oh, I don't remember complimenting on it, but thank you.
I thought you said something about it, and even if you didn't, you're welcome for complimenting my art.
Okay.
If you did, even if you didn't, you're still welcome.
Yeah, I must have said it the other day when you showed me the process shot.
The Upanishads?
The process shot.
The process shot. Oh, yeah. It's the photo. Oh, did I say? Oh, the other day is in yesterday, or the other day is in 2 days ago, or the other day is in a week ago? I don't think you got a photo of it until like 2 days ago.
Within the last day or two.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Saturday.
Well, and I don't even feel over like, oh, I need to be all egotistic about it. And I'm not trying to be. I don't even know how it's going to actually turn out. But the process is interesting to get this far on it. I'm feeling pretty okay.
There's a little UFO hovering in the background of that window.
Yep.
And then you got little masks. Are those masks or
those are
on
like
the ceiling fan?
Shrunken heads.
Then you got masks, and you look like you have Casper with beer. And you got a hand flipping somebody off.
How dare you point out the flipping off hand? That's the secret. It's the unspoken secret. I was thinking, because I posted a photo of me standing by it flipping people off onto Facebook, and I thought, I wonder if the people that see it that are offended saw the drawing of it right up above it or not. Not saying that anyone got offended at it. I can only presume, though.
The interior almost looks like those little huts in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. What are they? Like Bilbo, the inside of the Shire, Bilbo Baggins.
The Shire, yeah. Like the round doors and things like that.
Yeah, that was kind of the idea. Yes. It's like that.
You got a upside down rose pinned to the wall.
Yeah. Thought that worked also. Do that. Yeah, shit, I need more blue. Anyway, yeah, just where the mind goes when you focus on different doings. That idea of trying to exercise.
And the baby lizard is like laying on a twister.
There's a lady laying on a twister.
The lizard creature is laying on a twister.
Yeah, kind of like that. But I thought it was more like a towel. I didn't know what the color scheme was going to be on that just yet. I'm trying to match the arm skin a little bit.
And this other creature is trying to drip blood from the heart organ to feed the little baby, and the baby is shooting fire at this guy because he doesn't want to drink the blood.
Oh, well, that's how you see it, I guess.
What's that contraption? What is boiling like next to the stove oven? It's like this. It has like an oxygen tank and this thing.
Yeah, well, what do you think it is, though? Don't you want and don't expect me to ask you what you got on your painting. I'll just go, oh, it looked like this. I won't bother asking you. I'll just keep insinuating of what I think it is until you tell me what you think it is. But since you don't do that with
I don't
me,
know, like you're brewing, like you're cooking meth or something.
It's funnier when other people talk about your stuff. That's great, actually. I guess you could say something like that, but I don't know.
But there's and this guy's holding a dreidel.
Oh, you're the one that the dreidel. Is that what you think a dreidel looks like? Does it look like it? I don't think it's quite a dreidel, but
it's a rattle. It's a rattle.
It's like a rattle.
A baby rattle. It kind of looks like a dreidel. I don't know.
Yeah, I think dreidels have everything on the outside, like a ball knocker or something. On some old tapping device. I don't know. I only used to pay attention to what a dreidel is, and right now I'm not.
I like the middle finger is funny.
Yeah.
Like fuck everything. Fuck this piece. Fuck this art. Fuck this world. Fuck what's happening in this Bogo Baggins hut. Like the rats surrounding the pentagram.
Yeah, it's fuck you to all of it, but then it's also just like it's like a cut off hand. It's like a trophy, you know.
Oh, it's a trophy hand in there. Yeah, that's clever. That hand's kind of clever.
Yeah.
It's like fuck everything.
Yeah. Well, it'll go along with my vagina beast painting. It goes along with some of my other pieces that are fairly irreverent, and I think there needs to be a healthy degree of irreverence right now to really culminate even further. Like in a way, it's kind of like both jackknifing yet securing people's psychological disparate ideas. Like this kind of forces people to consider a landscape, kind of like yours. There's like something puzzle-like in it, or can be. And then I don't know, I guess it forces people to think, and then it's got irreverent elements in it, kind of like tits, dicks, and asses, and birds being flipped off. It's just making certain that people have a healthy right, that they know their right to irreverent art. Oh, and I just spilled the acrylic down the face of the piece. Sheesh.
Yeah.
But that came off just fine. My hands were wet also. But like spiritually, it's a semi-difficult piece to paint. But
yeah, I bet.
Entirely. My life is like a slow descent into hell. Beautiful people, the beautiful people, blah, 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 blah. Beautiful people, the beautiful people, blah, blah, blah. So I was listening to AC/DC's Highway to Hell. I'm starting to sound like Joe Biden. And it said like that they had to go, the highway to hell, and then they referenced it as the promised land, right? Like that these guys were promised hell, and that it itself was a type of heaven, right? And almost like your soul's most appropriate expression if you're a fire sign, right? And if you're a heavenly fire sign, maybe your fire is made out of ice. Maybe you have ice that moves crunchily quickly like fire, but somehow remains extra cold in an other universe's physical warped laws. You know, like on my old planet. E.T. found home. Hello?
Were you talking to yourself?
I was just monologuing.
I left the room for a second. But I'm sure your audience will find something really insightful from that monologue.
Oh, right on. Well, in this this particular piece has a lot of tangents in it also. So you notice that my camera is way up. I'm fading way down. But actually, I need to paint that one first. I'm going to paint that first. Grr. Foam brush. Yep. The pain levels are quite high, Captain, and I won't even begrudge mentioning it. Okay. Well, this is like Artcast. I guess Artcast with Jeff Lafferty, or I think that's his name. He's an artist that does comic book drawings with two other dudes that are also artists, and they're pretty good stuff. And they all three just point the camera at their paintings or their drawings while they're creating them. Well, that's kind of nice.
You saw the artist that I featured on my feed. What did you think of it?
I didn't see it.
It says you saw all of them.
Meaning.
It was the one that was juxtaposing the child and the guy.
No, look, I didn't see it. Meaning I scanned over stuff with my hand, but it's like the difference between like, oh, I was listening, but I didn't hear you, right? Like I didn't see it, so that's what I mean. I couldn't talk to you about it, other than I knew that it was something red and black, red and black and white all over. What do you call that? That's a penguin in a blender. Anyway, so an anecdote. I was trying to think of what this book by Ernest Better that's called "A Flea from Evil" might be about. Because I only presume that it's when one comes to know puritanicalism in their ecstatic theological heights. They're kind of like being awakened to their relevance to the world and the relevance to their sense of their own possibilities and their own responsibilities and all of everything that they've done. And so I figure that it has to do with a flee from evil would be something like a form of asceticism and sobrieties, and maybe it even gets political and economic. I don't know. It made me want to read or buy that book by Ernest Becker, and so I thought, well, maybe I should do that. But then I thought, no, I need to paint. And then I thought, man, I'm going to go smoke. And then you called. And then, well, I called after I got the stuff, and I'm about ready to do that right now because this first layer of dark blue has to dry on this sky. Like the moon in the sky is a big pizza pie that's amore. The moon in the clouds. That sounds like
turning into a mentor with that self.
I'm turning into a mentor.
You're turning into a mentor.
Oh, really? Because of my haircut? Because of my mustache? Because of my dancing?
And, the wrinkles and you're going chiseled, but you're getting old.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I know. That's what comes along with, what do you call it?
Oh, yeah, kind of like the goatee and the mustache, like early amendment.
Oh.
Like 2011.
Because that offended me, I'm going to go behind you and smoke a cigarette. Now no one's even looking. Not even. Anyway, then if I come back in and I'm still feeling energetic, I'll paint down. Paint closer to the bottom. Anyway. Oh yeah, I had to send something to Barklord today because I was like fights in Ireland, or I thought it was Ireland. Irish guys. Maybe it was in England. England. Are you still there?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking of, like, why is not my phone charged so I could go out into my car and get something? And thinking I need to lay this stuff down.
You need to talk to Amendum because fuck him.
I don't know. How does it end up doing? I haven't been watching it for a while.
Yeah, I can only kind of hear what you're saying from a distance.
I said, I don't know. How is he doing? I haven't watched him for a while.
Oh, I haven't seen him for a while. I think he just barely got back onto his Amendum channel after he was avoiding it so that it wouldn't get a third strike. If he gets his channels threatened, he'll migrate his attention to another one of his channels. So I think he was doing everything on draft science.
Yeah. I didn't know about the strike, but I knew he kind of abandoned that channel. Didn't know why he abandoned it.
Well, somebody dinged it. Somebody flagged a video. Or you're talking about yourself abandoning it? There you go.
No, I was wondering why he hasn't been making videos on that channel.
Oh.
You clearly said why now.
Well, I'm stepping outside. The phone's closer to me, but I might not be able to hear you.
How's this for your inner monologue? That comfort you? It clicks. Your cantankerous soul.
What'd you say?
No, I would say nothing.
About my cantankerous soul. I said something before, but I didn't hear it. Yeah.
Well, play back the video when you do, and you'll hear it.
See, the ceiling is supposed to be white. I decided to do an inner white frame, but it's supposed to be stucco and aged. Yeah, re-age it. Huh. Well, I'm back in, but I'm gonna have a seat for a minute. Actually, I'm gonna stop the recording.
What are you gonna title it?
It's already titled. It's an hour and 8 minutes, and broadcast right